No heroes. No heroes.
Alright everybody, welcome to another match, Week 2 NCL Germany. My name is Jan Birkemeyer, also known as
Dann
Skip,
einmal
and we
euren
today
Leader.
have an exciting match. Justin Tillman versus Amir and Ole, and our matchup is super spicy. We have Black Teach versus Red Monkey D Dragon. So Amir and Ole with the counter pick against Justin here, predicting the Teach pick. And yeah, we do see the boys straight from the noHEROES HQ. And with the quality setup, we have face cams as well, so we can watch their reactions as this exciting match goes on. We do see Amir and Ole going first, so probably winning the die roll. I assume not a matchup I'm super familiar with, but I assume being the aggressor, you just want that first curve where you get the first attack as well. And Justin starting off with a Lafitte, finding another Lafitte. We do see a 6k swing from Amir and Ole here, and 2 Don for what could it possibly be? We saw the deck list. Yes, it is actually that 2-cost Luffy from OPO1. To any of you who don't know what this card does, which wouldn't be surprising, this Luffy says if he has 2 Don attached, he cannot be KO'd in battle by strike attribute characters or leaders, and once per turn you can activate main and attach 2 rested Don to him, up to 2 rested Don. So yeah, basically on offense he's a 2-cost 5k with some upside that he cannot be KO'd by strike, but Teach is special as we know. Justin keeping the search engine up, grabbing a 2k, which is obviously very valuable when you're being rushed down. We saw on the deck lists that Amir and Ole run a lot of rush characters, so they just wanna get Justin to 0 life and beyond as soon as possible. But the powerful double defeat here, finding another Blackbeard card in the dock queue, which is obviously very helpful in trying to keep down the amount of attacks that Amir and Ole can throw out against Justin. So yeah, the question here is, do you ever want a leader ability? Because Justin knows himself, even without seeing the decklist beforehand, probably, that there's going to be a lot of rush characters being thrown at his face, and generally you don't really prevent those characters from having rush, at least the red ones, by shutting down their on-play effects. So 6k swing, which we get the stronger, which we saw from, and a Karasu. Yeah, so this only works if your leader is revolutionary type, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe just one part of the ability works. So he has on-play and when attacking, if he has 7000 power. Ah, no, okay. I think the on-play part only works if you're a revolutionary leader. You get to minus 1k any character or leader, which is obviously very strong, to minus 1000 power a leader. And the 7000 power threshold when attacking effect works whatever leader you are, I think. So yeah, we saw another 6k swing at Justin's live, which he took, and now just continuing those Lafitte searches. Amir and Ole are like, okay, search how many cards you would like. We are not wasting any precious attacks into these Lafittes. And I think it's an acceptable approach. I mean, you can always argue that, like, the thing is with Teach, you don't really have any other sort of resources that you would invest this early Don into. Like, here and there you very often would have 1 or 2 floating Dons, so these searches are kind of free for him. Unless he would obviously attach Don to a character or his leader and then swing big into a character. I guess which we might see here, maybe just a 5k. Yeah, just a 5k swing into the Luffy. Amir and Ole seem to be willing to defend this. Yeah, they give 2k 1k. Alright. And is Justin gonna like finger pistol this Karasu, or he's just grabbing 2 Don? Okay, so that's likely the Doku we saw. Okay. And using leader ability actually here, so on the 7 Don turn he does not want to allow any on-play effects. I'm curious what this would be targeted against. Potentially another Karasu? Or like, I guess he doesn't know if they run stuff like 5-drop Ivankov, but that would have been online as well last turn. And the Shockwave here, Amir and Ole not playing around Shockwave, which would have forced them to attack with Luffy first. Yeah, and you can see Amir's reaction, he's kind of like, ah no. But still, a 7k swing against 4k leader coming through, and then a 6k swing as well, so this is already quite rough. And Kid Killer only a 5k base here, but with Dragon's leader ability, this is 7 into 4. So still assuming that Justin will have to take this. I mean, he does have a lot of cards in hand due to those Lafitte's. But giving 2k here is quite expensive. And if your life has any triggers, like Shigan, or the swords, or those shockwaves that we just saw, they have a really nifty trigger in KOing a forecast as well. We might want to get those as soon as possible. So I think it's fine to take this. Like, there will be enough 7Ks coming at you for the rest of the game. Like, it's not just gonna be 9Ks from now on, so you might as well just counter 7K or an 8K that's coming at you in the following turns. So Justin has a large grip in his hand. 1 Lafitte in trash. And Amir and Ole only at 4 cards. So if we are willing to attach some Don here, maybe see a finger pistol or some reduction to KO one of these with the Doku. Yeah, this could be like a Van Augur, pop one of them and then swing 8 into the other. Which then again doesn't leave any Don for Lafitte searches, but prioritizing just increasing his chances of outing the character, which I think is fair. If they run so many rush characters, it's highly unlikely they have double 2k. And we do exactly see that line, just being able to out the entire board of the boys here. And then again, using leader ability, I guess this also, now that we're on 9 Don for the dragon side, it's fairly good against a rush dragon. Not preventing the rush part, but shutting down those 2 rested Don that he would be able to put onto his leader, and then he would be able to transfer it from his leader onto the dragon again, so he would be facing an 8k and like an 11k swing if rush dragon were to come down. But it doesn't seem like the boys have it, just like 7k swing incoming here with likely another rusher, maybe even 2 rushers. Like, they even play the starter deck 1 2-cost Sanji, which has a 4k power stat line and gets a rush if you attach 2 Don to him. But this is another Sanji. This is the starter deck, which one is it? Starter deck 10? Yep, the 3 captains. And this guy actually has rush on play, so huge leader ability there from Justin. And now this is actually looking like Justin is on the verge of stabilizing, right? The boys are only at 3 lives themselves, which should still be 4 cards in hand. Or is it they're at 4 lives? Ah, okay, the die says 4 life. I can't really spot the difference. But yeah, okay, no, I see it. But yeah, just this board is double Lafitte and the reduction and the KO already, so he only needs like 1 reduction source to out this Sanji right away. And he's already at 10 as well, so soon the Teach 10 cost might be ascending upon the board, and that would probably spell disaster for Amir and Ole, with their board likely not being existent any longer then. Finding another 2k here, really clutch. Also with the additional one Augur in hand, we already have a potentially guaranteed board clear. So if Justin doesn't decide to go for that, then it's because he has an even better line. So like a Tempest Kick would be huge here. But we already saw one, but he's tapping one. Is it Tempest Kick? It is, yeah, so this Tempest Kick is online, exactly. We could always use Leader Ability as teach here as well to get to those 10 cards in trash, but Tempest Kick obviously counts itself. When you resolve an event card, it enters the trash before actually the text is being resolved. So Amir and Ole left open one Don. I'm curious if that's for some type of event. I didn't spot an event in there, like a defensive event in their deck list, but I mean, going for an 8k swing with leader would have definitely been better. Justin is thinking, is there an issue? Okay, the boys do seem to have some kind of question. Ole is taking off the headphones. They are getting some instruction. Bear with us, guys. There seems to be some kind of issue. Something with the headphones, apparently. Ole puts them on again. Still not entirely working. Okay. We seem to be back, and they give us a 2k here, so that was actually a swing from the Van Augur and not usage of the ability. And Justin plays down the Jack. So not only removing the board, but also adding a valuable 8k attacker to eventually end this game in the near future. Because obviously, even with those leader swings in combination with just one rush character attack per turn, Justin's resources will soon dwindle, and he is interested in also finishing this game himself. So we once again do see the 7k swing from the Dragon leader. Justin still at like 6 cards in hand, giving 2k, 1k. We knew about both of those cards. And playing Karasu into the 3-cost Luffy. This 3-cost Luffy says, if I'm not mistaken, if he has 2 Don attached, he gets an additional plus 2k power. And he has 3k baseline with a 2k counter attached. So pretty good card actually. Instantly removing the Karasu here, and this is likely gonna be 10-cost teach, I assume. Okay, no, he's grabbing one Dawn, so maybe he just didn't find the teach yet. Otherwise, I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't go 5k, 8k teach. Well, I guess you could also argue just going Jack for the removal, but I think the 8k swing is more valuable if you were to drop teach, because otherwise you lose the value of not choosing a character that can't attack. So just maximizing the amount of counter he gathers to his hand, but I actually assume that he doesn't have that many more 2k counters. Like, I think he used 3 already, which is obviously in those Blackbeard lists they run anywhere between 6 and 8, but most of people tend to go on the lower side. I've even seen people only run 5, and yeah, do actually choosing to remove with the jack effect and just doing a 9k swing into a Burgess and lead ability. So really putting on the pressure on the boys here, who don't really seem to be having those unconditional rush pieces, right? So a bit of an unlucky draw maybe here from Amir and Ole, not having any 8-cost dragons, or just like typical more kitten killers, or the starter deck Sanji from starter deck 1. Not really finding those pieces. Maybe they did now. We will see. But now it might even be a bit too late, since you are facing a jack, a big Burgess, and the teach leader himself, of course, who might just threaten you lethal. And the boys are just going for a 14k swing with one Dawn open. That's looking quite rough. I'd be curious how many cards they have in hand right now. 6? Yeah, seems like 6. 5 or 6. And this looks like a spot where Justin can just try for a lethal attempt fairly casually. Just start with a 5k. You still have an Augur as attack as well, and you get the 2k here. So yeah, he just seems to be going for a 10-cost teach here, which doesn't have any chance that you lose the game. Like, there's no combination of cards really that would get through 1 life, a 12k blocker, and still like 7 cards in hand or something. There is that 10-cost teach. Beautiful manga art. Discarding 1 finger gun to still prevent any on-play shenanigans. Justin just checking his trash, probably reminding himself of what he's seen so far. And Amir and Ole are gathering their last effort to somehow close this game in a miraculous fashion. Unfortunately, being the dragon leader means that you don't have access to Diable Jambe, and this would be some sort of way to win this game if you had Jambe on your leader and then Jambe on one of your Straw Hat characters with Rush, or the Rush Luffy himself. So if you could go like 9k swing here with Jambe and then still have, yeah, they just throw their hand, it's over. They have a Radical Beam and some Rush characters, but at this point it's just too little too late. They did have the Roger, which they actually run 3 of, which feels a bit heavy, but I guess they just really want to guarantee them seeing it in the late game against this teach deck, which is understandable. I assume for that very reason that you can't actually run Diable Jambe. I assume they run the 5-drop unblockable Luffy, but just relying on that would probably be a bit inconsistent. So yeah, Justin actually taking a short break here, it seems like. And we're just shuffling up before we can head into our next game. And Justin is back, also ready to shuffle his deck. 6 piles, that's what I do as well. So yeah, despite the unfavorable matchup, Justin was able to take this first game down. Amir and Ole, despite their counter pick, not being able to take it down. And yeah, they did have quite lackluster draw. They were really missing those unconditional, non-on-play reliant rush characters to really put on the pressure. Alright, the players are back. They are putting down their life and we are going into game 2. Justin currently has the lead on his black Marshall D Teach, and we actually do see that this time Justin is going first. So Amir and Ole, being the losers of game 1, were this time able to decide to go second, so the players seem to be preferring being on the draw in this matchup. And the 2-cost Luffy already coming down. Once again, we saw that he can do some pretty good things in his Dragon deck. And Justin on his side, starting off with the Lafitte again, picking that beautiful manga teach to his hand. And will we see another Lafitte in this spot, or is it just 2 Dawn open? First we see the 5k swing, which Amir and Ole happily take to further their resources in later potentially protecting their board. And the second Lafitte coming down, finding a crucial dock queue, and Justin being able to pass his turn without lead ability this time. So now on 4 Dawn, Amir and Ole are thinking about what to do with this turn. And they seem to be in very eager and vivid discussion. I mean, there's certainly a lot of options in this deck. Something very strong could be the 2-cost Sanji from starter deck 1. Like, you could play it down, use the 2 rested Dawn to attach to your 2-cost Luffy, swing with the 2-cost Luffy, then use Dragon's lead ability to shift the Dawn from Luffy to Sanji, enabling him to rush, so that would be a 5k swing from the Luffy, 6k swing from the Sanji, and then you still have 2 Dawn left to go for a 7k swing with your leader. Already on turn 2, summoning 3 valuable attacks. So maybe that's what the boys are thinking about, but also some Karasu lines, although I think that would be rather easy to play, right? It's just attaching to Monkey D. Luffy with leader effect and swinging 5 and 5, because unfortunately one of the downsides of Dragon Leader, which I to this day don't really understand why this design choice was made. It was very apparent that Dragon was never gonna be like even close to a meta contender. The fact that he cannot attach that rested Dawn to himself, like it says give up to a total of 2 of your currently attached Dawn to one of your characters. You cannot put it to your leader, so you can only attach to Dragon and then give that Dawn away from Dragon to your characters, but not the other way around. And yeah, I think that would be kind of a small little buff that would Dragon still not have a major impact in the meta, but would still be simply a better deck. And we do actually see another 2-cost Luffy coming down here. So the boys were probably thinking about what this implies for their Dawn usage this turn, because having access to both of the Luffy effects right now means they could attach 1 rested to the Luffy they only just played and then reallocate that Dawn with their lead ability. So going for a 6k swing with leader first here, which Justin happily takes, potentially hoping for any sort of trigger. Any finger gun, shockwave, or tempest kick would have already ruined Amir and Ole's day a little bit. And yeah, I think now they are thinking if it's possible to take 2 separate Dawn from leader and the newly played Monkey D. Luffy. Yeah, they're showing the text box to Justin, or at least trying to. And this is in fact possible, because it just says give up to a total of 2 of your currently attached Don to one of your characters. So it doesn't have to come from the same source. They can take their Don that's attached to their Dragon Leader and the Don that's attached to Luffy and put it on the other Luffy for a 7k swing already here. So going 6-7 here instead of 5-6-7, which would have been with the Rush Sanji. But they are also deploying a Nami here, which is quite the threat in herself, because although we didn't see a Makino last game, if I'm not mistaken, Justin can very much assume that the threat is in Amir and Ole's deck, especially if they build against Teach. Makino always circumvents that on-play, yeah, like the forbidden on-play effects does not affect Makino because she is activate main and sort of represents this Nami to be a 4k buddy at baseline, because with 1 Don attachment you can suddenly make her 5k, and the threat would still be around afterwards, so suddenly your Lafittes would maybe have to swing into a Makino if that would come down, and you could not use them to search and fill up your hand. So Justin, I think, searching a 2k there, considering if he wants to go for another search, and he does, picking up taking a look at his very large hand here that looked like 9 to 10 cards, grabbing a stronger, so another 2k. I did unfortunately miss what the previous search was, sorry for that. I see a 6k swing into the Luffy, and you're already preparing 2 cards in hand for a seemingly double 2k. Yeah, and it's the Brook and the Sanji. And a Doku importantly KOing this Nami to prevent the threat of Makino. And Justin using leader ability here, maybe in anticipation of a potential Karasu, or the 6-cost on-play Sanji, which we saw in game 1 being denied his rush ability. And I think I spotted a slight misstep from Justin here, discarding the alt art Teach actually. Be careful everybody if you put different kinds of artworks of the same card in your deck, because on his first Lafitte search, Justin actually searched the manga Teach. So he now unnecessarily gave information to Amir and Ole. And yeah, the Kitten Killer is super crucial here. After Justin taking that first 7k swing, we're going to have 5k and then another double 7k coming in with the help of Dragon's leader ability. So if he had somehow the option to counter out of that first 7k, that would have potentially saved him a lot of trouble. But then again, you would afterwards as well have to counter a 5k and another 7k. You would have had to have double 2k and triple 1k in your hand to get out of this, and then Kitten Killer is still coming in for 5, so in fact you even need double 1k, double 2k, quadruple 1k. And yeah, although Justin has a big hand, that's a lot to ask. There's also quite a lot of counterless cards and not that many 2ks in the Teach list. So yeah, this is a very, very aggressive and therefore successful turn for Amir and Ole. Yeah, after giving the Laboon to the 5k swing, we see 2k, 1k against the 7k, and there's another 7k coming in, which Justin will have to counter, already having the stronger, which we know he searched at his disposal. And Amir and Ole overall taking 5 cards from Justin's hand that turn, and as well taking a life. So there's not much more you could ask for an aggressive deck on 6 Don. This was only their 6 Don turn, and effectively they used 10 Don, playing down the Kid Killer and then still being able to attach 6 Don two of which were still active, but using the abilities of their characters to even summon. Oh no, it was actually even 12 Don, right? That's crazy, because they had a 7k swing with Dragon. So this was effectively a 12 Don turn, so we can quite see what these aggressive red decks with cards we don't really see before, they can do some quite unfair stuff as well. And yeah, Justin going for those double searches, just trying to find as much counter as he can, and a Van Augur as well, so he would have had the option to guarantee KOing Kid Killer, but he does seem to have a Laboon as well if he goes for this 6k swing instead. And Amir and Ole are contemplating if they have the resources to spare to still counter this. If they have it, I would highly recommend to do so, because every single attacker for them is worth so much more than those counter cards in their hand. And they do have the zero cost event in combination with Karasu and Makino, so removing that Nami was, as we assumed, very crucial. And now Justin is going to go for that 4-cost Laboon likely, or maybe Finger Gun. Okay, it is Laboon, just reducing Kid Killer's cost to 0 and then KOing with Doc Q. He did have the Shigan as well, but just developing this Laboon to the board and him being able to act as well as an attacker, but also another reduction threat for every single coming turn is simply more useful. But again, we see an issue. Amir and Ole, if they paid attention, they know that one of Justin's cards is dead. He still has that 10-cost Manga Teach in his hand. And we will see if that's what comes around to bite him. We do see a Rush Zoro coming down. Since OPO1, the most efficient Rush unit we have still seen, simply unconditional vanilla stat line Rush. And starting off with a 5k swing here, which has to be countered, so no threat of a trigger yet. Transferring over to that Luffy, I think it's a bit cleaner to go for a 7k swing with Rush Zoro first, because he's simply a more valuable unit, being a baseline 5k attacker. And this way, if they had like a Tempest Kick in their life, you would have been able to keep the Zoro around instead of the Luffy, but I guess it doesn't really matter. They're just going for 5k and quadrupled 7k swings here. So another very aggressive turn. Justin is down to 0 and has to give another 2k, 1k, so there needs to be a miracle for Justin to somehow survive this. He does still have the double defeat and like 5 or 6 cards in hand. So he needs to find a lot of counter, he needs to find a blocker, and he needs to out this entire board. So a tall task for our regional champion and regional runner-up. The godfather of black decks, people call him, the inventor of Black Smoker, and even more notoriously, a deck that nobody had on their radar is the starter deck Luffy, that honestly I can't even tell you which starter deck number it was, something like 7, ST7, ST8. The Luffy that gets arrested on whenever you KO one of your characters. In a Whitebeard meta, this man was like, okay, I can just be a 6k attacking leader while KOing your stuff. And yeah, he just got to the finals of a regional with that, against Hervoya back in the days. And Zoro was unfortunately a rough matchup, and Hervoya was able to take it down. But yeah, going for actually a full board clear here, with Amir and Ole only having one card in their hand. The 7k and 5k swing guarantees taking out that board, but Justin doesn't have a blocker, and this 15k swing is just going to be game. He would need to have 5 2Ks and a 1K, which he probably doesn't even have that many 2Ks left in his deck, and even then he wouldn't be able to close out the game next turn. So we can go into game 3 here. The boys managed to even it up, and we do seem to have a little break, so let's skip forward to our next match. The players are shuffling, Justin's putting down his life, and Amir and Ole seem to take a mulligan. And now we will see Justin going second again, I would assume. And we are ready for this final game to determine the winner of this very exciting matchup so far. Game 1, Justin was able to edge it out by having board control. Amir and Ole missing their rush pieces for most of the game, and Justin finding a lot of Lafitte's which were unanswered and were able to generate him resources throughout the entire game. And he starts off the third game with another Lafitte, so really having this search power at his disposal all games long, finding the 2K right away, taking care that the bottom of his deck is also in the order that he would like it, because it is not unrealistic that with so many searches and trashing so much of your deck, you might be able to get through your entire deck. So 5K, which gets countered into a Rush Sorrow, which also just hits for 5K right away. This swing you always need to take, because if you get finger gunned on Justin's 4-Don turn, then your Zorro basically didn't do anything. So you might as well extract the value from the attack as long as you can. And you already draw the 2K that Justin searched. And now we might see something like a 7K swing, or a search and an 8K swing. What is Justin gonna do? I like starting off with the search. He likes, yeah, he agrees. Then 8K swing. If they have it, they're gonna give double 2K. He does find another Lafitte, so this is a sort of tempting, of course. I would be tempted to just go for an 8K swing, honestly. I think I would prefer that over developing another Lafitte here. But the 7K swing is enough to take down the Zorro, and that is crucial, since now developing this Lafitte obviously allows you to go double search and 4-drop next turn. The reason why I prefer to keep the Lafitte is because he's obviously a 1K counter in hand as well, and so I would need to at least search twice for him to regain the value that I played him, while investing 3 Don, so to say, and attaching that Don to my leader swings would be the more defensive approach, in my opinion, especially since we already do have one Lafitte on board. But Justin is a much more experienced Teach player than I am, so not calling any mistakes or anything, just putting, yeah, let's say recommending alternative lines. Finding another 2K here. So the Lafitte already replaced himself now for the investment of 2 Don. And since that Zorro already died to a 7K swing as well, it was very much worth it. And taking a 5K swing here. And we do just see that Shigan, milling, Teach, and a Dock Q. So very crucial for Justin to have that removal there. You don't want to attach too many Don to your leader there. And we've reached that 6/7 Don threshold where Justin starts to leader ability simply to deny that 6 cost Sanji, which gets a rush when he gets to resolve his on-play effect. So taking that life and just going for another rush Luffy, so 7 into 8. Justin will likely have to take both swings. He could give double 2k here. But yeah, this is the conundrum. Do you give double 2k here and potentially dwindle your hand size and your counter amount so low that you will have to take a 5k or 6k swing at some point in the future? Or do you activate Kid Killer? I think it's correct to counter here. You likely won't be facing a 5k or 6k swing in the future. Like, Dragon Leader usually starts with a 7k already. And there's no small characters on board, but he doesn't have a second 2k, so he needs to give 2k double 1k here. Super crucial. And we do still have those double defeats sticking around, so every single game Justin has had these, been able to generate him resources over resources. Okay, he might have had a 2k counter and just wanted to fill his trash. I'm not exactly sure what his trash count is at. This might be Jack coming down. No, he's taking 1 Don. Well, he is at... how much Don? Yeah, he's at 8 Don. Okay. 1 more Don for another Tempest Kick into what's going to be Doc Q into double search with potentially 2 Don open. That would be a strong turn. Being able to use a shockwave to prevent a 7 or 8k swing. Finding a manga teach here. Going for another surge. He might also be keeping those 2 Don just for a 7k swing. Finding another 2k. So Justin, if he's able to clear this Luffy, which after double Tempest Kick, I'm not sure if we still have track of 1 Doc Q in his hand, but I assume that he will have some kind of removal for this Luffy. He cannot just let it stick around. Yeah, 2 Don, 4 Doc Q. And the question is, do we have another Doc Q, or is it just pass with 2 Don open for a shockwave? Justin's thinking. Using lead ability, okay, he had the error. Decided against resolving it, so this highly speaks to him having shockwave open, which is a super valuable defensive tool here. Still being at 3 life, double defeat on board. Seems like he has quite a lot of cards in hand. This is looking pretty good for our Teach player, and going for a 9k swing. Very cleverly, at least making Justin give 2 cards here. So we are likely going to see Shockwave 1k. No, Justin doesn't want to use the Shockwave yet. He knows, okay, there's still Kid Killer coming in for 9k, so Amir and Ole keeping up 1 Don, which I think is questionable. I would rather make it 10k, forcing a 2k here in combination with the Shockwave. But maybe Justin also just bluffed the Shockwave. I find that a bit hard to believe since he didn't resolve the event. Yeah, there's the Shockwave in combination with a 1k. And we will see if this 1 Don held open for Radical Beam is going to be valuable for Amir and Ole, because Killer's just going to be removed via... I mean, he's either going to be rendered useless from a 10 cost teach, or he's just going to be removed by the stock Q. So the 1 Don open for a defensive event might not be worth it, and then we could have extracted more value from our attack and gotten a 2k instead of a 1k here from Justin. So we do know that Justin has that manga teach in hand, and he could just start off with a 5k into leader. You don't just want to let this Kid and Killer die. I mean, you could also do that. You could also just remove Kid Killer with a swing, which then again the boys would be incentivized to sort of just let die because they know that 10 cost teach is coming. but keeping this kitten killer around for a future turn still requires Justin to answer it at some point, even if it cannot attack on this very next turn, which is going to be the case. And now the question is if Justin wants to use his leader ability, or if he's saying, okay, I have counter cards in my hand and I need all of these counter cards, and your on plays don't threaten me as much. Yeah, we don't see leader ability. Justin wants to preserve every single card that he has at his disposal. Kitten killer cannot attack, so likely Justin is just going to be... Oh, there's dragon. That's huge. But still, it's just going to be a 9k and an 11k swing. Just going to block, and now 11k is gonna come in. And as we saw, Amir and Ole didn't get to use that Radical Beam, so they could have extracted an additional 2k instead of the Lafitte 1k last turn from Justin. And now it's interesting to see if Justin will have another teach here, or if he's gonna start off his turn by searching with Lafitte. Amir and Ole, Alpha and Omega, still at 4 life here, so that's quite a lot of substance for Justin to chew through. And they also have like 3 or 4 cards at least in hand. I cannot see, unfortunately. They're squabbling a bit. Probably Amir made some comment that they're happy that Justin didn't have 10 cost. But finding another 2k here. Justin seems to have about 7 cards, maybe even more in hand. Going for another search here. Question is this Monkey D. Dragon character allowed to stick around and swing 9k minimum for another turn? Or is Justin going to commit his teach blocker swing, exposing himself without a blocker, and then being vulnerable to an all-in into a rush Luffy swing the following turn? A lot of variables to consider here. But Justin finds another 2k, so really stacking up his hand with counter here. It seems to be like 8 cards in hand at least. Two Dawn rested for the searches already. What is the rest of our turn going to look like? I would really like to know how many cards Amir and Ole have in their hand. We need some way as Teach to at least answer one of these buddies. Otherwise, we will lose a lot of resources on our next turn. Swinging with 10 cost Teach seems almost impossible here. We would simply be exposing ourselves too much. And if I'm not mistaken, Justin does not play Vasco Shot in his list, so no cheap blocker available to him, and in fact 10 cost Teach being the only blocker available to him in this entire deck. So there's a world in which we can swing 13k into the dragon character, but then again we're not really making progress towards finishing the game. We're simply surviving another turn, and there's at least going to be 2 attacks coming at us, one of which we can block, but the other one we will likely need to take or counter, and then our situation for the following turn is just looking worse. So we at least have a finger gun here to remove one of these attackers, and I think a 5k swing in combination with putting down a Burgess would likely be our best chance of somehow winning this game as the Teach player. Because we need to put a clock on the opposition here. We cannot just try to play to not lose, and there is no Burgess apparently, or he simply mathed out that he needs an additional counter to not instantly lose to some form of rush. We do know that he has double 1k in hand at least, Other than that, I personally have lost track of what he has searched up. There have been so many searches over these 3 games with double Lafitte every single game. But this dragon character seems to be sticking around, which is huge, huge news for Amir and Ole. So Teach character seems to be swinging 14k. This has to be a guaranteed kill, so I assume they are 3 cards only. Wait, no. That wouldn't be a guaranteed kill if they have triple 2k. Or he's just risking it and has another shockwave in hand. That might be it. But then again, if that results in your leader only swinging 5k into phase, I'm not sure how you're furthering your progress of ending this game. You need to take a life from them. Maybe you can start off with a 5k swing phase. If they take it, yeah, it's so rough. Because even if you put them to 2, you only have maximum 2 attackers in your best case scenario. Like you take a life and you counter another big swing. But you will only have your Teach character and your Teach leader as really big attackers. And then you can only do like a 7k and an 8k. Or I guess Lafitte attacks for more than that. And yeah, he's actually swinging into the dragon character here, which will always die. And we have a 5k at life. But now Justin opens him up. He doesn't have a blocker up, and he's vulnerable to being knocked down to 0. He decides to lead ability, discarding a non-counter from his hand, the jack. Amir and Ole untap, no board, a couple of cards in hand, but they can put Justin down to 0 here. Amir is taking over the Don, trying to count. Ole seems to be having some issues with the headphones. Come on, boys. The headphones don't matter right now. You have a game to close. Can you do it? 4 Don. Is that 4 Don for Kid and Killer? That could spell disaster for Justin. Just going Kid and Killer and full aggro mode would result in possibly a 9k and an 11k swing. Or double 10ks. What are we gonna see? We start off with a 9k swing. Does Justin have to counter this already? Likely yes. You need to stay at 1. You cannot go down to 0. You've already seen double rush Luffy this game, but relying on them just not having another one is simply too risky. Amir and Oli still at 3 life with a bunch of cards in hand. Looks like 5, maybe 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I can't really tell, unfortunately. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's 6, maybe even 7. Okay. Yeah, he's giving double 2k, 1k, and there's just a rush Zoro, so not as big as Kid and Killer, but still coming in for 9k here. Leaving 1 Don open just to be entirely sure that they don't die themselves. I mean, it would mean that both Lafittes are attacking, which requires 4 Don each to even be an option, so they could go like 5, 5, 7, 12, or 5, 6, 6, 12, and all of them would need to connect. So I don't think that's necessary. Maybe they could have started with a 10k swing, which is then likely going to be countered by Justin, and then follow up with a 9k, just getting one more counter, one more k counter. Yeah, Justin now has to hope that there's not going to be something unblockable coming at him, or no 2 attacks, because he's only going to have 1 blocker. And this Teach character not being able to attack is bad news as well, because you're simply not going to have great chances at ending the game even next turn. Amir and Ole just have so much time. Second Lafitte finds a 1k, but is it gonna be enough? Despite giving 3 cards that turn, Justin still has a pretty big rip. But as we said, this deck does not run that many 2ks. At some point, you will just be out of them. Actually having to play out the Van Auger. Excuse me. And going for a 6k swing, so clearing board and hoping that there's no Rush Luffy. Although, that being said, even Rush Luffy would likely be able to be countered out if he comes for 11. The thing is that Amir and Ole can start with a 7k swing with leader, which Justin then will have to counter. Because if he blocks, he dies to probably even Kid Killer or Rush Zoro. And if he counters it, then Rush Luffy can still come in for 11. Because of Dragon's leader ability being able to transfer the Don. And it's just Gold Roger. It's just Gold Roger. Coming in clutch for a 13k swing. Can Justin get out? Okay, he gets to 9, he gets to 11, he gets to 13, he gets to 14 exactly, he counters out. Exactly surviving Roger. Meticulously planned from Justin. For some reason I didn't even have Red Roger on my radar anymore, guys. But now Justin does have a chance. Amir and Ole are tapped out. He can assume that they have at least one dead card because they kept up the Radical Beam for so long. But now you have 3 real attackers and you need to make one of these Lafittes work. You now have 1 card in hand, so you die against any single rush. Unless you do have another Tankos Teach. Because with that you would disable Roger's effect, so you would be able to block. And you would still have 2 blockers standing, so you could block the leader swing and you could block whichever rusher comes at you. But if there's 2 rushers, you die. That being said, this only works if you actually have the Tankos Teach. What if you have to go for game now? It's 4 cards in hand. So you need to attach at least, like, let's say 6 Don to Lafitte to make him a 7k. Then 1 Don to Van Auger to make him a 7k. And then you have 3 more Dons. So you could go 7, 7, 8, 12. You know that 1 card, like, you have to assume that 1 card is dead in Amir and Ole's hand. You saw a lot of 2ks from them already, so maybe there's a world in which you only start with a 6k swing here. Like go 6, 7, but then again 9 is also kind of weird. 6, 7, 9 is sort of too big a gap, so maybe 7, 7, 8 is just the best. You could also recruit both Lafittes, so to say, and go like 5, 6, 6, 6, 12. It's all not very promising. I like the 6k swing first. I think you have to take some sort of gamble, and saying, okay, you don't have a 2k here, seems like a reasonable one. And they do take. So either they take because this is a full bluff, or because they simply don't have a choice. The obvious swing now would likely be a 7k with Van Auger. You have 9 Don left at your disposal, so you could go 7, 9, 12. Alternatively, you go 8, 8, 12. That's probably better. Justin going for the 7. Do they have a 0 cost event, something like this? They take it as well. Justin can go 9. This 9 needs to connect. If it does, it's almost guaranteed lethal. Lafitte coming in for 9. Are we gonna see it? There's no real alternative. The Rush Burgess is not out yet. It's not OP10. 9k. They do have the zero cost event and a 2k. They get out. Amir and Ole were baiting Justin into the all-in. They had another 2k and another 1k and another 2k in life. So, they actually did it. Amir and Ole's counter pick worked out. What a match. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.